Cast Walking Ballista. Pew, pew, pew! Good game? This might be what you hear when the game ends, but what's actually going on behind the scenes? Welcome back to Better Know a Combo, brought to you by the Spike Feeders and GAMEGENIC. If you haven't already checked out this episode of Spike Feeders gameplay on your screen right now, definitely give it a watch. It's a new format that we're testing out that's allowing us to bring you extra gameplay episodes over the summer. It won't be replacing our regular in-studio gameplay style, but you may see them occasionally as a neat little bonus. Anyway, this video contains spoilers for that game. Heliod is a 5/5 indestructible legendary enchantment creature god for 2 and a white that reads, as long as your devotion to white is less than 5, Heliod Suncrowned is not a creature. Whenever you gain life, put a +1/+1 counter on target creature or enchantment you control. And it's got an activated ability for 1 and a white that allows you to give another creature you control lifelink until end of turn. The triggered ability is the most important one. If you gain 3 life from a card like Healing Salve, you gain it as a chunk and it'll only trigger Heliod once. But if you gain life from a Soul Warden when 3 creatures enter the battlefield, that's 3 separate instances of life gain and will trigger Heliod 3 separate times. At the end of the game, Charles uses his Scrapyard Recombiner to search up Walking Ballista, the other piece of this combo. He casts it for X = 2, so it enters with 2 +1/+1 counters. He needs to cast it for at least X = 2 because the combo involves removing a counter and we don't want it to die in the process. He activates Heliod to give it lifelink, then activates Walking Ballista's second ability by removing a counter and pinging one of his opponents for 1 damage. This causes him to gain a life, triggering Heliod, allowing him to put a +1/+1 counter back on Walking Ballista. At this point he's back where he started and he's ready to go again. This sounds awesome, but how can people interact? Let's take a look at the combo and talk about the ways you can interact at the times you receive priority. With Heliod in play, I'll cast Walking Ballista for any X value more than 2. You can remove Heliod here, but you might be better served by just waiting. Most of the time this combo is played in Heliod decks, so if I've got enough mana, I'll just be able to recast it and continue the combo. You can also counter the Walking Ballista, but keep in mind that any counter magic that cares about the mana value of spells will see Walking Ballista's mana value as 4, or 6, or 2 times X depending on whatever X value I've selected. Once Walking Ballista is on the battlefield, I'll pay 1 and a white to activate Heliod, targeting the Walking Ballista. You can counter this ability, but keep an eye out for any available mana I might have. If you've got a Stifle in hand, there's definitely a better place to use it. Now that it's got lifelink, I'll remove a +1/+1 counter from it to put its activated ability on the stack. You've got another chance to respond before the damage happens, so if you can gutshot the Walking Ballista, this is going to be the best time to do it. I can theoretically respond by removing another counter, but the Walking Ballista will die to state-based actions anyway, preventing me from continuing the combo. You can also stifle the activated ability or prevent the damage. If Walking Ballista can't deal damage, it can't gain me any life. Finally, and this is my favorite way to respond, you can cast Deflecting Swat to redirect Walking Ballista's ability to itself. If it only started with 2 counters, this 1 damage would be lethal. It'll still trigger Heliod, but the Walking Ballista won't be able to receive the counter by the time that last trigger resolves. Lifelink isn't a triggered ability. It modifies the result of damage from just loss of life to loss of life for you and life gain for me. This means that there's no point where you've taken damage before I gain life, so the next time you get priority, Heliod's trigger will already be on the stack, targeting Walking Ballista. If you're sitting on a Stifle, you can fire it off here. This is also the last chance to point your spot removal at either piece of the combo before I've finished my first iteration of the loop. But what if you're not playing reactive spells like that? How can we shut them down? This combo requires its controller to activate an ability of an artifact. Collector Roof, Stony Silence, and Karn the Great Creator shut it down real well. It also requires me to gain a whole boatload of life to trigger Heliod. Erebos God of the Dead, Reign of Gore, and Havoc Festival, among others, will prevent Heliod from ever triggering. You can also tax activated abilities using Suppression Field. Or you can play something like Solemnity to prevent Heliod from handing out counters to anything. That just about does it for this episode of Better Know a Combo. If you have a combo you want to see explained, make sure you let us know in the comments below, and we'll catch you next time.